Hi everyone, and welcome to today's session on how to find students like you for mature students, student parents, and student carers. It's so lovely to have you all here, and I'm so pleased that you could join us for today's session. So first off, I want to kind of quickly introduce myself. So my name is Sarah Moffat. I'm the Representation and Democracy Manager at the Students Association. So it's my role to look after all of our work relating to student representation and student democracy, but also some of our work supporting non-traditional students in accessing the university and getting on while they're here. I'm going to deliver a short presentation today, which should take no more than 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. When we do take questions, you can just type them in the chat and I'll answer them in the order that they've come in. I want to start off today with some quick definitions because I think hopefully you've kind of all made it here because you've understood or you kind of identified with some of the terms in the title and description of the session, but also lots of people might not be aware of these terms and might be aware that they apply to them. So first up, mature students. So UCAS defines a mature student as anyone over the age of 21 at the start of their course. However, obviously, particularly at the postgrad level, most people will be over the age of 21 at the start of their course. So often we find that people describe themselves as mature students when they're maybe a little bit older and maybe they've taken a longer break from formal education. So they might be returning to study after a period of work or just out of education more generally. Next up, student parents. So we define that as any student who has children or is pregnant whilst they're studying, or anyone who is kind of the legal guardian of a child. You may not be their parent, but if you have kind of responsibility for a child alongside your studies. There's also some crossover with our support for international students who with dependents. Often international students, particularly at the postgrad level, may be student parents, but they may also have partners who are responsible for kind of childcare or maybe looking after their children while they're studying. And finally, student carers. So that's any student who has an unpaid caring responsibility for a family member, partner, or friend. Generally, we see student parents and student carers as separate, although there's obviously lots of crossover, particularly in terms of the concerns and issues that those students might face around juggling their studies and additional responsibilities at home. I want to really emphasize in today's session, and if this is the only message you take away, I hope this is the one that sticks with you, that you might be the minority, but you're not alone. It can be really isolating having some of these experiences while you're studying, and you might well be the kind of oldest person on your course or the only person in your classes who has children or has additional caring responsibilities, but you're not alone. As you can see in today's session, there are a little group of you here, and there are lots more students in our online communities, and there's lots of support out there as well. So if you're ever struggling, don't hesitate to reach out and make those connections. In terms of what we can offer you as the Student Association, the kind of key thing for us is our student-led communities, which offer peer support and also social activities. So I'll talk a little bit later about some of those groups, but essentially we have Facebook communities for mature students, student parents, and student carers. And they're really active. There's lots of people posting in there, asking questions, sharing their experiences. And they're a great place to go to if you just want to talk to some students who maybe have similar experiences, similar worries, or just want some advice on kind of how they've coped with university or how they maybe overcome some challenges that they faced. We can also offer practical advice and support through our Advice Place. So that's where our free advice is offered by professional advisors on a really wide range of topics, but some that might be of particular interest to some of you are housing and accommodation advice, advice on funding and finances, including things like childcare funding or additional grants that you might be eligible for, academic adjustments, special circumstances, and appeals, particularly if your additional responsibilities start to have an impact on your studies. They're a great place to go to for advice with that. And also accessing university and external support. Their advisors have such experience navigating university systems and external systems as well, so they're great at signposting you to people who can help you if you do get into trouble. And we're also here to provide you with a voice within the university and beyond. And we have student representatives for each of these three groups: mature students, student parents, and student carers, who represent those groups, kind of make those issues known to the university, offer feedback to the university on what they could be doing better to support those students, and can also offer some of that informal advice as well based on their own experiences. The Student Association represents all students and achieves positive change on issues that matter to you. But we do also kind of focus in, particularly in terms of our representation, on some of those non-traditional and marginalised groups of students, because we know that often those are the students who face the biggest barriers in accessing education. Our sabbatical officers, so that's our 5 full-time elected officers, have previously campaigned on funding for lone parents, against changes to universal credit, which we know impact mature students, student parents, and student carers the most, and on increasing the university support for student carers as well. So they've achieved lots of changes that have really benefited students like you, and we hope to continue doing more of that work in the future as well. Our advice place can offer support with individual cases. So if there's an issue that's kind of just affecting you, then they're the people to go to. But if you think you've identified a systemic issue, so something that's wider, maybe a bigger issue with the university and how it does things, then do let us know either through your student representatives or through our sabbatical officers. And we'd love to kind of take those issues on and achieve change for you as well. So our Mature Students representative for 2020-21 is Sarah McCaffrey. Sarah is based in the School of Education and Sport, so I saw a couple of you in the chat when you were introducing yourself are also in that school, so you might see Sarah around in your classes. She has 2 children and was previously really active as a programme representative, which is our local level student representation. And you can contact her by emailing maturestudents@user.ed.ac.uk. Currently, our student parents and our student carers positions are vacant. So in September and October, we'll be holding elections to fill those posts. And you can find out more at the URL on the slide there, www.user.ed.uk/elections. And I'm also more than happy to answer any questions you might have if you think you might be interested in those roles, because we'd love to support you in getting involved. In terms of ways that you can get involved in some of this work and some of these activities, the key thing is to join our online communities. So you've got the 3 links there to our Mature Students group, our Student Parents group, and our Student Carers group. And as I said, they're really welcoming communities, lots of people in there who would love to answer your questions and offer you support as you join the university. We're also running a range of induction and welcome events. So on top of these how-to sessions, we're running some more kind of induction and welcome and social events, both for new and returning students. So we're running one for mature students on the 18th of September, so from 12:30 to 1:30. We're running a student parents welcome and mixer on the 21st of September, so a little bit later, again 12:30 to 1:30. And we're running a welcome for student carers on the 5th of October from 12:30 to 1:30. And at that event, we're going to be joined by Edinburgh Young Carers, so a local organisation who also support some of these groups and can offer advice and support as well. And you can also contact your representatives, so the Mature Students representative, the Student Parents, and the Student Carers representatives. Obviously, currently we've got 2 vacancies there, but in that case, those emails will come to me. So if you have got an issue that you think we should be addressing from a representation angle, then do email and I pick it up while we still have vacancies in those places.